Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's your boy Rico. No, Suave, everybody. Welcome back. I am super happy to be back. Oh my God. I tell you, once again, it's Thanksgiving and it's gone. And it's it's another great day for you guys to be here as far as with me today. I'm super happy to be back with each and every one of you guys, man. I missed you. Yes, I missed you all. And hopefully you missed me as well, too. So I missed all of you guys. So I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves and had a blast as well, too, because, hey, I just missed you. I got to get I got to get into, we're going to call this story time. You know, with story time in general, this what happened to me on Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving itself, you know, when you're around the table and, everybody, if you have a loud family like mine's, there's a lot of things that actually goes along with just being loud and enjoying themselves. And one thing about being loud, in front of the table is it happens at the beginning. You got family that comes in, everybody comes in and says, "Hey, I missed you. How's it going?" You say hello to your mom. You say hello to your grandma. You say hello to everybody. And, everybody's so ramped up. Well, in this case, because there was a lot of food around the table, and I'll tell you what we actually had. And I actually made a dish too. And I made this harissa chicken. It was so good. So good. And one thing that I have to tell you about like different foods itself is that, it tends to get to you. And how does it get to you? So my mom made a turkey, really big turkey. It was awesome. And then all of a sudden, I had, stuffing. There was mac and cheese. There was, she loved to make greens. And what else was there? And, there was sweet potato pie. There was this caramel cake. And it was amazing. It was amazing. And when I tell you it was amazing just like this. So we're all sitting at the table, and next thing you know, we're talking about everything, right? We're talking about everything. And when we're talking about everything, we started talking fast, and the more we ate, we started talking slow. And when I say we started talking slow, it means that I started falling asleep while I was eating. And I don't know how it started happening, but I think I ate some stuffing and the stuffing just sat to me. And then all of a sudden I started yawning. And you know how it's contagious when you yawn, someone else starts yawning. Well, guess what happened? I started yawning. My mom started yawning. My brother, my sister, and my other brother started yawning. And we started yawning at the table. And we're like halfway done with our food. We're not even finished with our food yet. And at the end, we couldn't say anything to each other because it was like, I think we need a bed. I think we're going to make a slumber party at my mom's house because that's where I was. I was at my mom's house. And I have to tell you guys, my Thanksgiving was not normal, because normally I would eat, like when you eat regular dinner, it's just like, okay, I have a piece of chicken, I have rice, or for my vegetarians, you just have rice, you have corn, you have whatever you have, just enough just to fill you up. Some good food. But for me to have all of that on one plate, it was like a buffet. And for me to be able to eat all of that, and the turkey, don't get me wrong, the turkey was good. And then I ate caramel cake. I couldn't move. I couldn't move after that. I wasn't myself anymore, because the caramel cake, it was ordered, and it was by, I forgot the name of the company, but I do want to give them a shout out because they put their whole clothing in it. I tell you, they put their love in this one. It was like a 4-layer cake. And I tell you, my brother said, hey, he's like, how big of a piece you want? I said, just give me a big piece. He gave me a big piece itself, and I couldn't finish it. It was amazing. I couldn't get out of my seat because I felt like Nutty Professor, and I felt like someone had to call me Hercules because I had a problem getting out of my seat. It was interesting of a Thanksgiving. This is the first time this has ever happened to me. So just so you guys know that if you ever invite me over to your house and you actually have a buffet of food, just have a mattress waiting for me, and please don't give me caramel cake because I'm not gonna move. so, so everybody, I hope you guys enjoy. That was my Thanksgiving story time for you guys today. All right, everybody, I got to introduce this gentleman. This gentleman, I have to tell you, this gentleman here, his name is Michael Liebowitz. And what I have to tell you about before we bring him on, I want to tell you something about me reading about this gentleman. This gentleman is so inspirational. This gentleman has been through a lot in his life. And now he has his own podcast to basically interview other people, which welcome to the industry, but welcome to interviewing people. But this gentleman has been going through so much in regards to lessons learned that he's now is a book author. And of course, we're going to talk about his book on the show. I want you guys to stand up. If you ate too much, sit down, just like I did. Put your hands together for my man, Michael Liebowitz. Let's go. What's up, Michael? How you doing?
I'm doing even better now.
Did you like my story time, man? Did you like my story time?
It was very inspirational. Made me want to get some turkey in the other room and sit down and have some stuffing.
Yeah, man, it was actually man, it was such a crazy day as far as Thanksgiving for me and my siblings, my brothers and sisters. It was super crazy. But man, welcome to the show, my man. Welcome to the show. Super happy to actually have you on the show as far as with us today. And there's so many things that I do want to actually, have the audience to make sure they ask questions and participate as well too. So if you can actually just go over real quick, when we talk about some of your issues that you actually went through, let's talk about the nitty gritty of things that you went through
Okay.
at a certain age, and let's go through that. Talk to us about that.
Pick an age. What age do you want?
17.
All right. So 17. My father was in prison at that point. When I first turned 17, I was in a relationship with a girl. I was very abusive towards her. I dated her on and off since I was 13. And I had a lot of insecurity issues that led me to be possessive and controlling her. Things that stem from growing up. My mother was absent. She OD'd a couple times. So I always had sort of these insecurities that I was going to lose people. And I always try to control situations and people to prevent that type of loss. And so that's what I did with this girlfriend. And, I was horrible toward her. And, my father was in prison. My mother couldn't control me. And I just continued to escalate and get worse and worse in my behavior, from breaking into cars and then breaking into houses and robbing people and just doing all types of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing.
When it comes to in that situation, sometimes that's just the only thing right? I mean, and that's what you're surrounded yourself, or I shouldn't say you picked to be in that situation. But during that situation itself, what were some of the things that was kind of like going through your mind? Was it only something as far as like, did you feel like there was any type of a survival mode while you were actually going through those issues as well as a young age?
Well, when you started off there and you said something like sometimes we do only what we know, and I sense sort of a deterministic viewpoint there, as if I wasn't in control of my behavior and it's somebody else's fault that I acted the way that I did. And I just want to disavow that immediately, that I
Yeah.
take complete responsibility for all my behavior. I did have a rough upbringing, but along with the rough upbringing, there were a lot of people that tried to help me, a lot of people that reached out to me, and I just didn't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I'm 17, I wanted to be a tough guy. I started hanging around with kids. I grew up in a suburb in Wethersfield, but I had been hanging around with kids in Hartford, and I wanted to fit in with those kids. I wanted to be tough, so I did the type of things that I thought would gain their acceptance. In regard to my girlfriend, I thought, well, if she cheats on me, what does it, basically I felt worthless. So I thought there's no way she's not going to cheat on me. And what can I do to stop her? And that's why I tried to control her.
Yeah, and I think when you have when you say love and happiness, I love that song. But when you talk about love and happiness, and then you talk about the other love of things that you were doing, where you know that you were taking responsibilities of things that you were doing during that time, of being involved as far as with someone that, that you care about. There's so many mixed emotions that's going on during that time that, as a young one, or, just knowing that, yeah, I know that I'm doing this, that's actually wrong. And then when you find somebody that actually like is in love, it can be confusing. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it can make you feel a certain way where which path do I really want to go in that's really going to take me to get out of it. I've been in that situation too, where you're like, man, I know these guys are not good for me. And I ain't gonna lie, my parents like beat me. Like they whooped me. Like when I did something wrong, that kept me in line. But when you're actually having that love, and then you also are knowing that you're in this direction of doing something wrong and you're not paying attention to that, when you were actually, with the girl that you were with during that time, how long was it until you guys broke off, and what happened after that as you continue to get older? What happened next?
Well, we started dating when we were 13, and we
Okay.
ended up breaking up when we were 17. We broke up. But you said something interesting there. You said that your parents, they beat you. And as bad as that is, or may have been, you're still now sitting here, and seem like a nice guy. You're,
Yeah.
jovial enough, and you have a talk show.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody else might be in prison, and that person might be in prison saying, I'm in prison because my parents beat me. So what other choice did I have? That's what I knew. So that's what I acted out. And that's ultimately
Right.
what I mean, is that we're responsible for our choices. But so once she and I broke up, I continued on the same path. I was doing drugs, nothing hard at that point. Well, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. I experimented a little bit with some coke. I was taking pills, but mostly just weed and drinking. And I
Mm-hmm.
continued doing illegal stuff. Like I said, breaking into houses, robbing people. And the older I got, as time went by, I got worse and worse.
Wow.
I started to hate myself more and more. I got angrier and angrier. And then ultimately, when I was still 18. I wasn't quite 19 yet. I was still 18. And I met another girl, and she and I started dating, and the same pattern repeated itself. Although I didn't physically abuse her, I certainly emotionally abused her, tried to control her, told her what to wear, who she could have for friends, that sort of thing, which is
Right.
just totally, it's reprehensible behavior. People are individuals, and no one person has the right to control any other person, barring, if you're committing crimes and you're in prison, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sometimes people think that, it can be kind of like feeling like if you do some type of harm to someone, that's kind of being macho. Like, as an example of someone saying, oh, you're strong, you think you can actually overtake me. Or once again, when we talk about the survival mode, it can be survival mode of just you trying to survive yourself to make you feel like you're a man, like you feel like you have to be able to do this. But, and also the influencers that's also around too can make that actually happen for you, making them feel like, hey, if you do this, you're actually a real man, right? Or you feel like you actually are doing something, knowing that it's bad, but sometimes it just feels good, right?
Um,
Meaning that if you rob somebody, oh, I just took this person's wallet and I got whatever, $150, you feel like you accomplished something in the mind of a robber, right?
yeah.
What was going through? I mean, so during that time, as far as, of course, it's almost like you had an organization when you actually started robbing for so many years. I don't know how many years would you say you were going through that phase?
Um, Starting when I was about 15, I started smoking weed. So that's when I started. We're beating people, telling people we'll get them drugs, taking their money, that sort of thing. So 15. Um, the influencers though, like it's I chose the people that I was influenced by. So what I mean was when
Right.
I grew up in a low income housing project. It was in a suburb. It's a small little neighborhood.
Hmm.
But there were good kids in that neighborhood, and I chose not to hang around with the good kids. I chose to hang around with the troublemakers. I chose to, idolize the bad kids in town. And I remember when I was 14, you asked what was going through my head. When I was 14 years old, I was walking down in Hartford, Franklin Avenue, and I was with my new Hartford friends, and they wanted to jump somebody. And so I wanted to fit in. So I went and I jumped a kid. And I remember going home that night and I felt so guilty and so bad. Like I just felt horrible about myself. But I realized that those types of emotions of guilt and empathy and just wishing I hadn't done something, shame, they were not going to be conducive to the life that I wanted to live. So I pushed those thoughts and those emotions out of my head. And I look back at that day as the day that I did away with my conscience. That
Mm.
after that, I was able to do things without the slightest bit of remorse. So the thoughts that are going through my head are just what I want when I want it. I want money. That person has it. I'm going to take it. I think it's funny to hurt people, so I'm going to go out and hurt people. It's
Right.
entertaining. It gives me a rush or a thrill, and who cares whom I'm hurting?
Yeah, and you brought up a point when it comes to what we call an addiction. When you feel good about something and you focus just on that, that's when you know that you have that addiction of just doing whatever it takes to complete it, no matter what, until something happens. You know, when they say, hey, you guys stop playing until you get hurt, or somebody's going to get hurt, and then they keep doing it. And then all of a sudden, somebody gets hurt. And it was like, see, I told you. I think your guilty conscience got to the point of knowing that I got it to someone, I'm robbing someone, and now I just feel like this something in my head. I'm maturing now. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. And then something in your head was just saying, "Hey, man, there's something. I can't, this can't happen. This just
In
can't." And
my
it
in
happens
my
to a lot of
head,
us. Well, I'm just saying consciously. Yeah.
no. The only thing that stopped me was a 33-year prison sentence.
Oh
There
yeah.
was no, there was no remorse, no guilt. It came later. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong. Once I reevaluated my life, but had they not put me in prison, uh, I ultimately would have ended up either dead or in prison for a
Yeah.
far longer time.
So I'm sorry. So maybe I'm sorry. I apologize. When you said that you had a guilty conscience, you had a guilty conscience, and then you threw that out the window.
Yes.
When was that?
That when I was 14 years old, we beat up
Mm,
this kid. I remember his name. I remember him. And my friend told me, let's jump this kid and take his chain. And so I went along with it, and we beat him severely.
wow.
And I went home that night, and like I said, I felt awful about myself. I just had
Yeah.
like this pangs of guilt, and I just knew I had to get rid of them. So I pushed them out of my head, pushed those emotions away, pushed those thoughts away, and then really never looked back. I'm absent, a few brief periods where I thought maybe I could change or I wanted to change. For the most part, I was just a hellion and got worse and worse until the state ultimately stopped me.
Yeah. That was the point. That's where when I heard the guilty piece, I was going to ask you. I said, who was that on? You know what I mean? Like, where did that guilty conscience come in from, as far as who was that on? And okay, thank you for explaining that. And now you're growing up, or you're getting older, and then now you find yourself in prison. When you found yourself as far as in prison, did you actually just go in prison once, or was it back and forth?
I got it all out of the way. First shot. I only did one sentence.
And what was
So,
that? What
so
was that for?
well, the girl that I met when I was 18 years old, Now, this is the most serious case, or the case for which I got the most amount of time, was when we broke up. She had a new boyfriend. I couldn't handle it, and I ended up in some disputes with her new boyfriend. And I sent three of my friends. They broke in their house. They beat up her boyfriend. They stabbed him, and they stabbed her by mistake
Wow.
in the leg. And I got 27 years for that. But I also had drug charges, other assault charges, weapons charges, all
Wow.
types of things. But that was the crime that I got the most time for.
Wow. Wow. And now you're in prison, my man. So you're doing the time. I know that there's in prison, because I love your story about when you're in prison and how you met your mate, your friend. There was there's programs that they have in prison.
Yeah.
Did they have programs in there that was effective for you while you were in prison?
No,
No.
no.
Yeah.
I can elaborate if you'd like me to, but no, they do have plenty of programs.
Yeah.
But if you eventually, I did an abundance of research on what programs work and what don't.
Yeah.
And I learned that the programs that the Department of Correction puts out, and it's not a secret to people that actually study correctional programming and criminal rehabilitation, but they're garbage. I mean, that's not the clinical term, isn't garbage, but that's what I would call them. They're actually probably more harmful than anything else. I mean, I can't blame the Department of Correction when somebody gets out and commits another crime. Ultimately, that's on that person.
Right.
But when taxpayers task the Department of Correction with one of the goals is rehabilitation, and they don't do that,
Mm.
I think they should be called to account. I mean, there's four goals of incarceration, right? Incapacitation, punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. By and large, all they do is incapacitate. These places are just warehouses.
Wow. Because I've always, well, I mean, I've always wondered about that. And, I saw, of course, when you look at TV, but I looked at Vice one day on YouTube, and they actually had this prison program. And the reason why I thought about you and the reason why I have this question is because I wanted to see exactly if they had programs that actually fit you because of what you've done and why you were in prison to help you, you know, get yourself together, get yourself in the right path, to be able to say, when I get out of here, I know exactly what I'm doing. Since that didn't
No,
work, we're not going to
no.
even elaborate on it,
No,
right?
no.
'Cause-
The prison system just put obstacles in the way. I was fortunate that I met my friend, and he and I, at the same point in our lives, decided to change. And
yeah,
we happened to both be avid readers. So we started reading books on how to change and how to become more responsible people, psychology, philosophy, self help, motivation, that sort of thing.
yeah,
And then we would build off each other, debate, discuss the issues. And he and I ended up, we were in the same block for 16 years, and we were cellmates for 11.
okay,
Without that, I don't know that I would have been able to achieve the
wow,
type of changes that I have.
yeah, man, wow. And I love these. I love to hear how you changed yourself. Before we take a commercial break, we got 5 minutes before we take a commercial break. But while you were in prison and you read a book, but I want you to tell the audience that I don't want to spoil it for them. But in
Okay.
regards to what you were reading, that actually with you and your friend, what was that process like in regards to how did you? I mean, because you guys were kind of like roommates, right, cellmates, during that time. How did you guys connect from a personality standpoint? Like, how does that work? Because not everybody can actually, stay in the same, even a roommate or your
No, no.
roommate that feels the same way. How does that
Well,
work?
so he and I first met. I had just been transferred back to the prison that he was at. I never met him before, and I went to breakfast, and I'm looking for a place to sit, and he just looked like the most unassuming guy that I could sit with. He wore glasses. I figured, oh, this guy's probably in for like a computer crime or something. So
Uh-huh.
I went and I sat down. I introduced myself. We started talking. It turned out that he was in prison for shooting a police officer, multiple federal bank robberies,
Wow.
and he had just been transferred back to population from from the supermax because he kept getting into fights and other kinds of trouble. So I thought, that's a good good way to learn. You don't judge a book by its cover.
That's
But
right.
from talking to him, he was also very bright, obviously very smart. And we started talking politics, and we disagreed on almost every political issue we could possibly disagree on at that point.
Yeah.
Well, we became friends, and then we got separated, and then we ended up in a block together later on, and we continued reading together. At that point, mostly political, economic stuff, philosophy. And then he ordered a book called Inside the Criminal Mind by Dr. Stanton Samanow.
Hmm.
And both of us were very skeptical. We're like, yeah, who the hell is this guy? Well, he has a degree. He thinks he's going to tell us about ourselves. But reading that book was like somebody wrote out a blueprint to the way that we thought. I mean, this guy nailed us to a T on motivation, thought processes, actions, the games we played, the manipulations, everything he knew. And we said, wow, man, this guy's got it. And he also showed a path forward by which to change criminal behavior. And it was very strict. He said you cannot allow a criminal and change one lie. And by that, he doesn't just mean one lie. He means one criminal thought, one criminal behavior. Everything has to be checked. And that was in 2004. And from that point on, Brent, that's my friend's name, that's what we did. We just kept checking each other and kept reading, studying, learning what was wrong with us, how we could fix it. In 2007, we lived together. We moved in the cell together, and we were cellmates until 2018.
Wow.
Matter of fact, he just called me a little while ago, but I couldn't accept his call because I was waiting to come on the air with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, you guys are meant to be, bro. You guys are definitely meant to be. I mean, that was super cool. Like, I mean, it's just because you guys connected just by reading this book, but you also kind of like you guys were both educating yourselves during
Yes.
that time from someone that was like, yo, this is the way you need to think. This is the way you need to be able to help yourself in from a criminal mind standpoint, and also get yourself better. How big was this book? How many pages was this book?
Inside the Criminal Mind, I want to say it was about 230 pages, maybe 300. But it's actually it's Dr. Stanton Samanow. He and Samuel Yokelson in the 60s to the 70s, they spent 15 years studying criminals, and they actually put forth a 3-volume set called The Criminal Personality. And Inside the Criminal Mind is kind of a distillation of that.
Yeah.
And so we also got the Criminal Personality, some of his other books. And it's so gratifying. I'll tell you a quick story. Brent and I ultimately wrote a book together called Down the Rabbit Hole, How the Culture of Corrections Encourages Crime, while we were in prison. When I say we wrote it together, that's being very generous toward myself. Brent did by far the bulk of the work, probably 70-30, I'd say, and that might even be being generous to me. But we wrote this book together, and in it we named Stanton Samanow as one of our big influences, and we put a summary of his work in the book, and we said he provides the way forward to help transform criminals. And my friend ultimately sent Dr. Stanton Samanow a copy of the book, and Dr. Samanow wrote a very laudatory review of the book for Psychology Today magazine. And in the final revised edition of Inside the Criminal Mind, before Dr. Samanow unfortunately passed away, he actually mentioned Brent and I in his book and mentioned our book. So that was it kind of, he was like our role model, the guy that we looked to for advice in this kind of stuff. And to have him actually mention us was like vindication for us. Showed
That's
that we
love.
knew studying what we were talking about.
Yeah, that's love, bro. I'll be hyped too. Like, I'll be super hyped about stuff like that. Like, if they just mention my name, that'd be like, wow, man. I mean, I can't believe that this actually came through. But we're going to get more into this after this commercial break. But
All right.
Everybody, you already know we got the book author. We got my man here with us, Michael Liebowitz. Man, thank you so much. Hey, stay tuned. We got 30 seconds. We'll be right back, everybody. Let's.
Awesome.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. You already know it's your boy Rico No Suave with none other than my man Michael Liebowitz here. Hey, Michael, are you having a good time so far?
Oh, I'm having a great time, and I absolutely love the name Rico No Suave. I wonder how many people remember Rico Suave. You
Suave. Hey, that's the reason why I had to put no Suave in there, Papa. That's why I had to put no
know?
Suave on there. I didn't let them know that was me. All right, my man, let's get back into this because there's a plethora of stuff to still talk about. But let's talk about when we talk about the after, you met your friend. Yeah. What is his name again?
His name is Brent McCall.
Like Brent, Brent?
Yes.
Brent. Okay. My man Brent. Salute to Brent.
Although you won't be surprised that he's been called Brett, Chet, and everything constantly. People don't get it right.
Yeah. What's up, Brent? Man, hopefully he's watching. But anyways, want
He
to give him a
can't.
shout out.
He's still in the Ooskow. He can't watch this.
He can't watch? Okay.
No, he's
All
still in the
right.
big house.
Well, much prayers to him, much love to him as well. All right, so check this out. Now that you have this book, right, that you guys both wrote,
Yeah.
how well this is a story. Tell us about the book that you both wrote, and tell us in regards to what message are you trying to get to your people that reads it.
Okay, so the book is what it sounds like. It's a critique of corrections, but it's not a critique that you normally would have. Normally, when it comes to prisons, either have people on the right who just think that you should put criminals in prison. Basically, I mean, I'm using hyperbole, but basically just beat them, leave them there, and then you let them out. Whereas on the left, they think you get this guy in here, you give him a hug and tell him you love him and life's okay, and he's going to get out and it'll be wonderful. And they're both just dead wrong. And not only that, but the prison system just doesn't function as it's supposed to be. I mean, ultimately, a full third of the rules are never enforced. The ones that are enforced are enforced sporadically, so you don't know on any given day if you're going to get in trouble for doing something. The COs don't set a good example at all in the way that they conduct themselves. And as I said, the programming is less than to be desired, to put it mildly. And so that's what we did in the book. And we laid out what the criminal personality is so that the reader would know exactly what the Department of Correction has to deal with. We put forward a philosophy of what would work, and then we described how the penitentiary actually works. And in doing so, I mean, we had to put names and times and dates, and that pissed a lot of people off. But the thing was, if we don't do that, we're two inmates. Who the hell is going to believe us? But now we could say, look, you want to say we're lying? This is on camera. Prove we're lying. And of course, they couldn't do that. And as a result of that, Brent ultimately got transferred. The numerous correctional officers tried to have us assaulted by other inmates. And it was a rough go for a while, but it worked out, and ultimately led me to a lot of good things. And without that book, I doubt I'd even be here now talking to you, to be honest with you.
My man. My man, it's so good that you guys put that. I've never heard the timestamp piece before when reading the book. In regards to that, and it was so cool that you actually said that because that actually helps people to follow better when reading. Because there's timestamps of, oh, this happened at this time. Oh, okay, what's going to happen next on this time, right? And I think because you guys are putting them into like specific, I wouldn't say it sounds like chapters in a way, but it seems like you put them in certain time frames where people really want to actually read the book instead of just reading it all the way straight through. I think when people hear about time frames or say, hey, a year ago or 6 months later, then you start talking about this type of subject. What type
we were far more specific than that, though. I mean, we would actually say this occurred in the Industries Warehouse on December 6th, 2008 at 10:45 a.m. But it's an interesting thing that happened with this was we reached out. We thought we were very naive, right? So we figured, okay, we're going to write this book. We're going to get it to the media, and everybody's just going to be knocking down our door to talk to us. And nobody did, and nobody cared. And we didn't want to send the book to politicians because we didn't want a politician cherry picking our work for his own political purposes.
True.
But we got to the point where we're like, well, we're screwed. Like, nobody cares. We might as well reach out to this certain senator who was always on TV talking about prisons. So my friend Subby, who has been there for me almost my entire sentence, the stuff he's done for me, wow.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I told him, hey, you want to get a book to Senator Len Suzio? He said, yeah, I'll call him. Call me back in 10 minutes. So I called him back in 10 minutes, and he said, I'm on my way to the senator's office. The senator ended up coming to see us, and we were on top of the world, or at least I was. We were separated at this point, but it's like, wow, this senator's actually paying attention. He came to see us. And by the way, all the retaliation that I told you about stopped once the senator came to see me. The COs after that left me alone. So anyway, the problem was there was an election coming up and the senator lost the election. So now it's like back to square one. But this guy, we were so wrong about him because he was so sincere in wanting to fix the crime problem that he stayed in touch with me. I'm in touch with him till this day. That was almost 6 years ago now. And he ended up getting me a gig on a talk show where I was a regular guest. And from that, I ended up wanting to be a talk show host myself. So I owe so much to him. Yeah. But anyway, I had a hearing. This is what I was leading up to. I had a hearing where I was trying to get my sentence reduced, and I ultimately did. And that senator testified on my behalf.
Nice.
And when he testified, he had a copy of our book. But it wasn't just any copy. It was the copy that we had hand delivered to the then Commissioner of Correction. That Commissioner of Correction marked up the book and put Post-it notes throughout so he could check on everything that we were telling him. And he then brought it to that senator to have him read it, to see that, yes, we were telling the truth. Yeah. So to have that senator verify that in open court was just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. He was a former senator by then, but it was a wonderful feeling.
Dude, that's amazing, bro. That is amazing. Oh, the trickle down effect on this is sick. It was meant to actually be. I mean, you guys, it was almost like you were a mastermind and didn't even know it. Like, you guys, like, put that book in the right hands in order for somebody to read it, and then for them to be able to say, oh no, these guys are telling it, and for them to be able to put Post-its in there. Now that's serious.
And it wasn't just one or two. I mean, the whole book was full. But Rico, what I learned from that is because Brett and I were so just disheartened by this whole thing. You know what I mean? And then Brent got transferred, and I was just a mess. And I came across one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite authors, Frederick Douglass. And the quote is, "No struggle, no progress."
Yes.
And I thought, wow, he's right. And it kind of bolstered me. But then the way things have worked out, like, we thought the book was going to get attention from just, the local media.
Right.
That never happened. But the roads that it opened up for us, it got us in touch with one of our heroes, and Dr. Stanton Saminow. It got me a gig on a talk show, which ultimately helped me to get out of prison. And it led me to what I want to do with my life, which I had no idea before that. So it's just amazing how life can work out in ways that you just don't expect them to work out. We expected to be rewarded in one way, but ended up rewarded in ways that we never could have even imagined.
You never know where your path is going to actually be until you really get hit with that roadblock and say, no, here's a detour. You don't belong this way. Go this way. And I think for you in general, because we want certain things, but we actually don't need these things. And what you actually needed was to be able to get your point across with that book, number one, and then for you to be experienced, to be interviewed, and also be on a talk show. And that just opened up your eyes even more. And look at you now. It's just more of like, wow, bro, I'm like, this is cool. Like, this makes you change your mindset, but also it helps you continue your positivity path, right? Even from the time when you guys wrote that book and say, hey, we want to go this way. No, we want you to go this way. Okay, cool. And then finally, when you got your sentence reduced, these were all like, this is a work of art for you, for your life. right? In
Okay.
order for people to know, or for people to know that, hey, I got to reduce thanks to the man above. All right, now let's get this book going. Okay, well, it didn't go the way, or it went the way. Okay, that's the way it should have went.
Wait,
And now you're
how did you
good
know
now.
Brent was on the top bunk?
Brent was on the top bunk.
Yeah, you said thanks to the man above.
That
How'd
was
you know
Brent.
Brent was on the top bunk?
There you go.
You know,
There you go.
it's funny because we worked so hard and I finally got on this show and it almost didn't happen because miscommunications. And finally I was like, you know what? I told my friend, tell the senator, get us somebody else. This dude, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And my friend said, let's just try one more time. And I ended up on the show and I'm thinking, okay, this is the shot. I got this one shot to make the case about our book.
Yeah.
And the second the interview was over, he stopped recording and he says to me, hey, how would you like to be a regular on the show? Now, this is the most popular political talk show in my state.
Mm-hmm.
And before I thought, I said, hell yeah, I want to be a regular on your show. I hung up. I was so excited. I ran back to my cell. I laid down and I said, uh-oh, what the hell am I going to talk about it?
You know, I do that every week sometimes.
But I'm still a regular guest on the show. I've been out of prison for a year. It's been 5 years almost I've been on the show.
That's awesome, man. Blessings to you, bro. That's
The host
awesome.
became a good friend of mine.
What's that?
The host actually became a good friend of mine.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So, yeah.
I just want to know the feeling, and of course, you know, movies. And I've actually had friends that actually went to prison, and then when they come out, what was your feeling when you stepped out of prison for the first time? What was that like?
It's just, I can't even explain it. It was just euphoric. I mean, here I was driving in a car with my friend who'd been accepting my calls up until the day before, you know, collect calls and always running here and running there for me, doing all kinds of things and helping me and sending me books. And now I was in his car and we're driving to my new house. Well, his house, but my new residence.
Sure.
It was just an absolutely phenomenal experience just to look over at him driving the car. And I was sitting there and he handed me my phone that he bought me. And it was great. It was great. And it's still great. I mean, it's been a year now. Actually, it was a year yesterday. And my friend and I went out for dinner to celebrate. And it's been an amazing ride. Life is phenomenal.
Blessings to you, man. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm happy for you, man. And I'm happy, of course, because of, like you said, Frederick Douglass, you know, the struggles, then you make that progress. And I think because of the lessons learned in regards to what you've been through and looking back at what you've been through and actually what changed you and also being able to meet your hero was just that positive path of knowing of actually changing your life and being on a talk show and then doing it for many years now. And you know, I think that's really cool that, you know, you're transitioned your life. There are some comments before we take a quick break for a NASCAR moment. I do have to say hello to some people. Linda Camacho, hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. Donna Marie Bird checking in. Beatrice Davis is checking in with us as well too. John T for free, you know, always for free. And then, yeah, we have other people that's actually checking in. But thank you guys so much for actually checking in. Donna did say something. She said, prison in this country has never been what it should be or could be. And I think we'll elaborate on that comment after this commercial break. My man, Michael, sit back, relax. I got something called NASCAR Moments, baby. Listen up. Listen up. Everybody already know the Rico no Suave show is about the NASCAR moments. And, you know, when I say that we're affiliated, we actually are affiliated as far as with NASCAR doing media and all of the great stuff. Now, of course, NASCAR is all around, right? They're all around. They're in Phoenix, they're in Texas, they're in Las Vegas, they're everywhere. But you know what? Also where they're everywhere at, they're connecting with kids. So we'll put up this next flyer. 1.7 million kids impacted since 2016 for the Kids Giving Tuesday. Together we give. Now, of course, I put the date November 28th, but this happens Giving Tuesdays. Now, you can give Monday through Friday if you want to. If you go to NASCARfoundation.com/Giving Tuesday. Now, with this, I just want to add a little bit more in regards to this. When we're talking about giving, we're talking about the youth. We're talking about bringing the youth, that may not have anything, right? And may never ever seen a race car, right? Unless you bought it from like Walmart or you bought it from, a toy store. But for them to be able to actually see and their eyes to be able to light up, Giving Tuesdays is just something that NASCAR Foundation has been doing for quite some time. And I think you guys to make sure that if you want to give a donation, please make sure you go and give a donation. Make sure you go to NASCARfoundation.com/giving Tuesday, or you can just go to NASCARfoundation.com. Make sure you browse their website because it's all about giving, not just on Tuesday, but in this case, every day is Tuesday. So that is a NASCAR moment for today on the Rico No Suave show. Let's get back. Yes. Oh, wait. My man. I'm having a good time. I'm having a blast,
too.
bro. I'm having a good time, man. We're going to have to do a part 2 of this because there's more stuff and we're almost done for the show.
Hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man.
I'm game for it, bro. I am so game to actually be able to do more interviews as far as with you now that you're actually in the industry, but also knowing exactly how you are inspiring people. Now, as far as now, you wrote the book, you wrote the book. Is there another book that you also wrote while you were out of prison as well?
I actually wrote it while I was in, published it when I was out.
Okay.
I studied a lot of philosophy while I was in prison, political philosophy, economics, and I've come to a pretty integrated viewpoint. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll write about my philosophy, how I came about it, the way that I think, the way that I view the world. And so I thought, well, View from a Cage. It seemed like it'd be a good title for a book, given that I'm in a cage and this is my view. So I told a little bit. I mean, it's part biography, but it's mostly intellectual biography. I explain the authors that inspire me and how I came to think the way that I do today.
Nice. How long is that book? How many pages is that book?
I think it's about 200 pages. I don't know exactly. I probably should, but I don't. But I think it's about 200 pages.
It's all good. and where can people actually buy the book?
It's available basically anywhere you buy books: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and a bunch of other places that I've never heard of, but they're there. I can't. Rakuten, I think, is one of them. I'm not sure if I'm butchering it. I apologize. I'm not trying to. I'm just very new to the internet scene. Barnes and Noble and Amazon, I know.
Yeah, Barnes and Nobles, man, that takes me way back. Yeah, Barnes and Nobles. Oh yeah, that takes me way back.
You can get it online from either place. It's available in both digital and paperback.
Have you done any book signings?
I did do book signings for the other book, yeah, but not this one. This book, it's another interesting story because since I've been doing my podcast now, I've actually been able to interview many of the authors and people that I read while I was in prison. So I'm reading these guys while I'm in prison, and now they sit across from me. Well, not literally across from me; they're on a computer screen across from me. But and I get to interview them and ask them questions. And a guy named James Stevens Valiant, who I actually met on Facebook also. He's a former prosecutor, and he's a prominent author and a philosopher in the philosophy that I adhere to, objectivism. And he wrote just an absolutely dazzling review of the book and posted it to Facebook. So that was great. And another one of my heroes was Ludwig von Mises. Not when I say hero, I don't mean because of his personal conduct. I don't know much about that. But as far as authors goes, he was an economist. And he played a big part in shaping my thinking. And his biographer, at least one of them, wrote a blurb for me to put on the back of the book. So that was wonderful as well.
Nice. That's cool. It's so fun how people can come together, and make that connection because you basically network without even thinking about it. I mean, networking, then next thing you know, you got a blurb in the back of a book and then going from there. Are you looking to actually have a book signing for this new book?
I would love to do it. Don't get me wrong. My main goal is to grow the podcast. That's what I want to do. That's what I love doing. I don't plan on writing another book anytime soon. It's really hard. I really
Sure.
respect people that like pump these things out because it's tough. But yeah, I mean, I want to promote the book. I want it to do well. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I want to promote the book in furtherance of the podcast. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to be able to interview these people, and I'll tell you why. Because when it was just Brent and I arguing this stuff back and forth, I mean,
Uh-huh.
you're talking about some pretty complicated economics and philosophy. So ultimately, I mean, we thought we understand, but who the hell knows? Maybe we're just telling each other BS and we got it all wrong.
Right.
But getting out of prison and being able to talk to the people that are actually involved in these areas that write about these subjects and to be able to converse back and forth with them and get positive feedback and learn that, yes, we really do understand the stuff that we had studied for so long. It's very validating because it's not like we were in school. You know, you go to school, you get a grade, you know how well you did.
Right.
We're just reading these books and then talking about them, but to learn that yes, we really did understand them. It's very refreshing. It feels very good, very rewarding. I think is the word.
Yeah, I think when you actually, add more people to the mix of what you're discussing, it brings out more ideas, but it makes you feel good when discussing it as well too, because of course we just have the ideas just between me and you, right? So when we just have the discussion between me and you, and then when somebody else comes into play and you start talking
Right.
to them and it brings other ideas, it just makes it so easy. And then also when you when you're a talk show host and you're talking to other people that's involved in that, it it opens so many doors because your mindset is like, okay, what can I get out of this person? What more can I talk about as far as with this person? Like, oh man, I didn't know that. Oh, that's hot, and then it just makes it even easier, for you to be able to
Sure.
realize that, man, there's just more to it than just that.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've debated now. I think I want to say 5 college professors on my show. Maybe more, but it's just to be able to hang with these guys. I mean,
Yeah.
my other friend that's out of prison now, Carlos. He's a real close friend of mine, and
Awesome.
he just talked about. He said it's just so rewarding and so amazing to be able to see you to argue with these guys and hold your own because that's what I did in prison. But
Yeah.
you're arguing with guys in prison is not the same as debating college professors.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
Very, very
Right.
different.
So, yeah, let's bring him back.
Oh no! I
Yeah,
just
here we go.
oh I thought I got canceled for a second. Oh, maybe one of these professors is
That
watching.
would have been me. So when it comes down to, I got to throw you off. I got to throw a little
Sure.
curveball here. And this is
That's
a
fine.
fun fact because I want to know a fun fact about you.
All right.
When we talk about coming out of prison, what was the first meal you had?
This is funny. This is actually really funny because the first thing I wanted to do, I told my friend I want to stop and get a soda and a candy bar. And he's driving and driving and driving. And I'm like, well, are we going to stop at a store? And he's saying, yeah, yeah. And then I'm talking to the aforementioned talk show host on the phone. And he told me, he said, I'll bet he's got that stuff at his house. And that's what he's planning.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at him and I said, is he right? And he said, oh, blah, 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 blah. And I said, man, I want to go into a store. Stop. The whole point is to go into a store. So we went in. I got a candy bar. I got a soda. Then we went out to breakfast with my sister. And I had an absolutely amazing meal, an omelet, the whole 9 yards. We left there. There's a pizza place next door. So I went and I had to get a slice of pizza. Also got some cannolis. I had to have the cannolis. And then maybe an hour later, we went to Burger King for lunch. And I said, I got to have this bacon cheeseburger. Man, I got to have it. And it was great. I loved it. And I said, man, I could really go for a chocolate milkshake. And that's where I pushed it. That's where it was just too much. I drank the chocolate milkshake, and I just got that sick, full feeling. And we were driving, and I just had that look on my face like, man, I just hope I don't vomit. Please. And my buddy, he's looking at me, and he's laughing so hard. And, when someone laughs at you when you're like that, it makes it worse. It's like if you're suffering and someone starts cracking up, it makes it worse. And I'm like, man, stop laughing. And I know that if I were him, I'd have been laughing too.
Right.
So I'm not going to get mad at him. But it's so funny how sick you are. Like, did you really think you were going to be able to eat all this stuff? But you know
Right.
what, man? It was well worth it. It was
That's
well worth it.
awesome,
I don't
bro.
care. It was great. It was great.
I like that, man. I really like that. Because I figured, I'm like, I gotta ask him, what
Yeah.
did this guy eat when he got out of prison? Because I
Short
know
answer, everything.
everything.
Yeah.
You got me on the bacon. You got me on the bacon cheeseburger when you said the bacon cheeseburger from Burger King, because
The
those are
double
some
bacon,
good
the
burgers. Oh
Baconator,
my!
I think it's called. The Baconator.
Yeah, the Baconator.
I think so, yeah. I might be wrong, but I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's hot. Oh man, that is awesome, bro. And then of course when you get sick, that makes it feel even. That makes it feel like, okay, I overdid it, man. But that was good. That was worth it. That was worth it. My man, we're down to the last few minutes, but I do have to throw some positive notes out there in regards to Patty Escobar says, hello, this is such a great interview. I just Googled him and will be buying the book. So thank you, Patty Escobar, for that. Thank you so
Patty
much.
Escobar. That's wonderful.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you so
Appreciate that as well, too. So I got something for you, because you are a gem of the world. No matter what you've done in your past, it makes a difference, because the struggles showed your progress, and you actually came from a long way of what you've done and to where you're at right now, being clean, being healthy. And also, there's nothing wrong with eating Baconators. Nothing at all, bro. There's nothing wrong with eating Baconators. So, this goes to you. I got to send this to you. So this is the Rico No Suave show shirt.
All right.
So I got this shirt for you, my man. I want you to wear this proud. So this right here is the symbolism as far as our show of people of gym around the world that actually does great things, even though they're actually going through some things where their path is going to take them and say, hey, we're going to have to turn you around. We're going to turn you around in a way of for you to be able to say, I have no other choice but to be clean after all of this. And thank God that you met some good people that was your friends in prison in order for you guys to either debate, get to know each other, but also write a book while you was in prison and then had it published. You wrote a book and got it published when you got out. So your accomplishments is well deserved. And now you're in the industry as a talk show host. So I'm happy for you, my man. So this right here, congratulations.
I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You're very welcome, my man. You're very welcome. So we're going to put up your social media, my man, because we got to let everybody know. They're going to DM you, right? And make sure just don't be like going crazy on him. Just follow my man, The Rational Egoist. Make sure you go to Instagram. Make sure you go and check my man out. Please go ahead and support him and his journey. Go and buy his book, just like Patty Escobar is doing. Go and buy his book. And make sure you say, hey, I saw you on Rico No Suave show. I'm buying your book, Michael, and go from there, man. So there will be a part 2 to this.
I hope so. Remember the podcast, too. They got to check out the podcast. Rational Egoist. Same name.
Okay. Yes. So, all they have to do is will they be able to just go ahead and type that name in, and they'll be able to find a podcast, right?
Egoist, but they should probably put my name with it, because there's some other stuff with the same name. But if they put my name with The Rational Egoist, they'll get it.
Cool. My man, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
And I'm going to hold you to having me back. You said you're going to have me back. There's no
part 2. Look for part 2, baby. Look for part 2. Everybody, put your hands together, my man, Michael Liebowitz. Thank you so much for being on the show, Papa. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, we got to get out of here. Man, we have to get out of here, because you know why? We don't want to get out of here, but we know we have to. But hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself here on the show, on the Rico No Suave show. So we're going to put up our social media, everybody, so you guys know exactly how to find us. The first one is www.riconosuaveshow.com. Make sure you please go there and make sure you look at the archives. Here's the next one. Oh, yeah. You're talking about Instagram. That's what we talk about at Rico No Suave show. Make sure you go and follow. Do it right now. Here's the next one. They said they loved us, so we said we loved you back. Rico No Suave show, Facebook, follow, love, and like everything we do. Here's the next one. You already know. Subscribe, baby. Yes, subscribe. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe on the Rico No Suave show. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe and also follow everything we're doing. We're putting up shorts. We're putting up all great stuff that we're going to be hitting from around town. Last but not least, All of my podcasters that just love audio only, mixcloud.com/Rico No Suave Show. Make sure you guys go ahead and follow me there and follow the show with the rest of my crew, everybody. All right, we got to get out of here, man. But thank you guys so much for being on the show. And we'll see you guys next time as we end off the show just like this. Let's go.